conjure up the Prince of Darkness in person.
Only 3 copies survived.
I'm convinced only one is authentic. I want you to get it for me.
You mean the devil won't show up?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars and welcome to another of my misunderstood movie reviews. Today I'm taking a look at the 1999 horror mystery, The Ninth Gate. The film is directed by Roman Polanski and it stars Johnny Depp, Frank Langella, Lena Olin and Emmanuel Seigner. Right, the film follows Johnny Depp's character, Dean Corso, who is a dealer of rare books. He essentially finds them for people, these rare books, and he gets paid handsomely for it. But he's a bit of an unscrupulous character. But he is hired by Frank Langella's character, Boris Balkan, who is a collector of unique books. Essentially, all the books he collects are based on Satan. And there is one book in particular, The Ninth Gate, that he essentially wants all 3 copies. He's just bought a copy from somebody, finally. After many, many years of trying to get hold of one, he's bought one off a collector, and immediately after selling it, this collector hung themselves. But he hires Johnny Depp to basically take this book, head off to Europe, and compare the notes in the book, his book, to the other 2 books to see if there are any differences and to find which one is fake, which one is real. And once he does that, if he discovers the one that's real, he is then commissioned to buy it from that person. However, when he gets to Europe, Johnny Depp, he realises that there are actually some quite sinister people after this book, and he starts fearing for his life. Right, what are my thoughts on The Ninth Gate? Well, this is a film that ordinarily I probably would never have watched. I mean, maybe now, if I was doing like a sequence of reviews on Johnny Depp or something, I might have probably included it in, or a first time watch type thing. But I actually stumbled upon this film many years ago, and it was like a late night watch sort of thing. It was, I don't remember what year it was, but I remember it was one of those like late night movies. And I remember sitting down watching it and being really entranced by the film and really enjoyed it. I liked the premise. I liked the mystery of the film. I liked the performances. It's shot beautifully, across Europe and stuff. And there's this real uncomfortable, sinister edge to the film as well because it's dealing with Satan. So it blends a lot of genres and it does them quite well. And I'm also a fan of investigation type movies, like detective movies, that kind of stuff. And a lot of this film is actually Johnny Depp doing that, being a detective, locating these books, that kind of stuff. He is not a heroic character by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, Johnny Depp's character here, Dean Corso, is actually quite unlikable. He's not a nice chap, really. He's quite devious and cold and uncaring in a lot of ways, but you kind of with him for this journey, and you kind of learn to kind of like him a little bit because he's so naive at the same time. We can kind of see that there's sinister stuff going on here. But he's kind of like, it's a lot of old bollocks, really. You know what I mean? That's his kind of mentality towards it all, until it kind of becomes something that he can't deny anymore. When these, these freaky things are starting to happen around him, deaths and all kinds of different things, he really has to then start taking it seriously. Along the way, he meets who is literally just described in the credits as the girl, played by Emmanuel Seigner. This pretty young woman who Johnny Depp assumes has been hired by Frank Langella's character to kind of follow him and see what he's up to. But as we learn as the film goes on, there's something far darker about this girl than first meets the eye. And the film never really clarifies who she is. It kind of leaves it to your own imagination. But there's some scenes in the film where she does some kind of otherworldly stuff, but it just kind of, it doesn't go over the top with it. It doesn't hint heavily about things. You know what I mean? It's quite subtle in its approach. I think some horror films, if they had like subject matter like this, would just literally go to town on it, and and they'd hammer the message home with a sledgehammer rather than a precision tool. And that's what Roman Polanski does here. He kind of balances all these gentle genres quite nicely into each other. So you've got this investigation mystery sort of thing going on, and then you've got the horror elements sprinkled in there nice and gentle. You've got the thriller elements sprinkled in there nice and gentle, and he's just kind of stirring it up. And there's even elements of comedy here. Johnny Depp's character is very dry in some of the things that he says, and it actually makes you laugh and giggle now and again. And it's not intentional comedy sort of thing, but it just lightens it occasionally, when you've got the light and shade sort of thing. And Johnny Depp offers quite a lot of the light into the film. As I've said, it's shot beautifully, as you would expect from Roman Polanski. And I'll be honest, I have never really been a Roman Polanski fan. I'm not talking about him as a man, I'm talking about him as a filmmaker. Obviously, he has done films that will kind of be regarded and are regarded as classics like Rosemary's Baby and Chinatown and stuff. But as a rule, I'm not a massive fan of Roman Polanski. But if I was to be a little controversial here, I would probably say this is my favourite of his, because it feels a little bit more, I don't know if mainstream's the right word, but it's as close as a mainstream horror film as you're ever going to get, I think, from Roman Polanski. But he still manages to put that grace in the film and that art into the film, and sweeping cinematography and beautiful locations and memorable characters. This film has got him in spades, and I've always really been a bit of a fan of this one ever since I saw it that night in that late night showing. It's one of those that when I get the opportunity to see it again, if it's there, I'll kind of click it on. I think is it on Netflix in the UK? I'm not actually sure, but it's one of those that if my wife had gone to bed and I was flicking through Netflix just looking for something to watch and I saw it, I'd probably pop it on, sort of thing, for a bit. It's one of those films that I think is so well made and so well acted, and with such an interesting premise going on with it, that kind of treats the audience member like an intelligent person rather than drip feeding them exposition consistently throughout the film. Doesn't do that really. I mean, it kind of lets you kind of make your own mind up in a lot of ways. It's just very, very subtle in its approach, just enough for you to kind of think, okay, I think this is going on, or that is going on, or is anything going on, sort of thing. So, I mean, the ending kind of is a little bit ambiguous, I suppose, and a little bit, I don't know what the right word is, really. I wasn't massively keen on the ending of this. There's like an ending that you get, and then it kind of stops and it gives you another couple of minutes after that, and it's them couple of minutes after that I wasn't overly keen on, sort of thing. But yeah, if you've never seen The Ninth Gate, it's definitely worth checking out. It's got a great cast, it's got a great premise, it's very well made, and it's one that I strongly recommend. So that's my thoughts on The Ninth Gate. In my opinion, a misunderstood movie. You never really hear people talk about this one. When people talk about Johnny Depp films, how many bring up The Ninth Gate? Not that many, I would suggest. And it's not one of those that performed particularly well when it came out. It's one of those that's just kind of floated off into the mists of films forgotten almost. But I would definitely recommend checking this one out if you get the opportunity. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, please click the like button. It's very, very helpful for the channel. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. You would be most welcome, and I will of course be back with plenty more content very, very soon.